You win. You ready?
Turn the rest of the lights.
Everybody ready here? I want to welcome everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order February 6, 2018, 6:03. This time I need approval of the agenda.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have approval. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Tonight, we have the pleasure of the Boy Scout Troop 485, and Mr. Joe Briley will be doing our invocation of prayer. Turn it off. Turn it off. All right, I'll get out of the light. Oh, well. You're right, just leave it on. Don't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Come on. Then let's say.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And would you go ahead and deliver the prayer?
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings on our leaders. Please grant them your wisdom as they struggle to do good for our community. We thank you for the wonderful community you have given us, and pray that you will continue to improve it and improve us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Very good. We thank y'all very much.
Thank you, boys.
By this time, it's an emergency building and maintenance possible.
Yeah, my budget.
Good. Okay, we're all right. It's not gonna hurt. It's not mine. As long as I ain't standing up. Tonight, we're starting off with planning and zoning. Before Ms. Tim Petrowski starts, we will give both the applicants and anybody opposed any zoning tonight. We'll try to give you equal opportunity. I encourage you, if you come up, if somebody's already had a comment or a concern or support, rather than hear it 2 or 3 times, if you can come up with a new concern, it would be helpful to the board not to continue on with a repeated concern. We do have a long agenda tonight, and we want to give everybody ample time to speak. Mr. Petrowski, you'd like to start?
Chairman, item A is a request by Derek McDuffie. He's been operating a sawmill and firewood cutting business from this property for about 20 years. He approached my office to get a building permit for an addition he wanted to do down there. At that time, I notified him that a conditional use would be required for that, so he's turned in that application. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
All right, Mr. McDuffie, you here?
Yeah.
Would you like to come forward and speak? In case the board has any questions for you.
Yeah. It's pretty much, I've just been running the sawmill. It's a portable sawmill. Just pretty much cutting pallet wood. Instead of throwing away the scraps and whatever we use it for firewood, we sell it. Just been doing it for a while and more or less started out as a hobby, but now I'm making a little bit of money with it.
All right. Any questions from it?
You have some employees?
I do, yeah.
Good.
Well, with the lawn care, landscaping, and everything we've done throughout the years, I got quite a few guys that work for me.
We appreciate your business.
Any other questions? Anyone else here would like to speak in support for Mr. Duffy? None? All right. Appreciate it. We'll give out. Right. Anybody opposed to this request? Would you like to come forward at this time? Nobody opposed to this request? If none, I need a motion.
For the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I make a motion that we do move forward with the recommendation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Good?
Yeah.
Mr. Troutman.
Chairman, item B is a request by Brandy Lissy to rezone a 3-acre parcel on Upper River Road from from RR to Ag 1 with a conditional use to allow what she called a sober living house to care for 30 individuals. After the Planning Commission recommended denial of that request and a lengthy planning and zoning meeting, they came and spoke to me about the possibility of altering their request. At this time, they would like to see if the board would entertain the idea of approving this as a conditional use in the RR district to allow the sober living house in one of the mobile homes to care for up to 6 individuals. Since this is similar in nature to a personal care home, which is also a conditional use in this district, after meeting with the county attorney, we feel that the county commissioners could consider that alteration to their request at this time. So at this time, they would like to see if you would entertain the idea of a conditional use in the RR district to allow up to 6 individuals in one of the mobile homes. This would not require rezoning the property. It's simply a conditional use. The Planning Commission's recommendation for the rezoning was denial.
All right, Ms. Lipsy, would you like to come forward?
Chairman, Tim, are we still the same regulations on zoning it is for conditional use?
The standards are slightly different for conditional use approval. They are very similar to the rezoning standards, but they are slightly different.
I am Brandy Lipsy, and I just would like to say that under the circumstances, this is rental property right now. And it is nothing more than rental property. If y'all were to allow us to go forward with this, people are renting a room in that house instead of a whole entire entity. With a lot of conditions on their stay there. They are not just welcome to come and go as anyone would when they rent a house. There are house rules that they will have to abide by. They are under more strict rules than if I rent that to somebody that I don't really know that comes and asks me, can they rent my property? And I give them the go-ahead. They pay for their rent or whatever. I don't know. I've never met them people before in my life. I don't know nothing about them, but they pay their dues and they can stay there. Where this is very conditioned. It has a lot of strict rules to go by in order for them to continue to be able to rent a room in that house. And so I really don't see it as any different except for the rules that they have to abide by in order to stay in the house that I own. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Anybody here would like to come forward and speak in favor or support of this request? If none, anybody opposed to the request would like to come forward? We got this gentleman and
Go ahead.
My name's James Hutto. The only question I've got is we're allowing 6 people. Now, how about who's going to supervise it? Want that up? Is there only going to be 5 people living there and a supervisor? Is a supervisor going to be there 24 hours a day? Or is it part-time? So if we're asking for 6 people, then how many supervisors we're going to have?
Under the conditional use standards for a personal care home, there would technically be 7 people in the house, 1 person that lives there permanently, and then the 6 clients. So it would be a total of 7 people, 6 clients, 1 staff who lives there 24/7.
Okay. All right.
thank you. We had another gentleman, Stat, would you like to come forward? Okay, this time, if we get a show of hands for support and denial, at this time, a show of hands for support for this request so the board can see a show of hands in support. Okay, thank you very much. We need a show of hands at this time that are opposed to this request.
Are there any other additional people outside?
Tim, how many have you got in shots?
1 person in the hallway, sir.
Okay. All right. Any discussion board on this? I will go. I will not be able to vote because the Lipsy two work for me at this time, so I'll have to refrain from them.
So just so I'm clear, zoning and planning has not had a recommendation on this?
The conditional use suggestion was brought up after the planning and zoning hearing, so they did not hear this.
Okay.
What they heard was the rezoning and accommodating 30 people on this property, and that's what the recommendation of denial was for the rezoning.
Okay.
What would be proper procedure?
Within the zoning guidelines, it's within the board's purview at this time to consider the change of the application to a conditional use, and you could grant approval or deny the rezoning request this evening.
Oh.
Or you could grant approval of the conditional use for 6 individuals in one of the homes.
I'm entertaining a motion to.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion approved. Do I have a second? No second. Motion dies for lack of a second. Now, I need a motion for denial.
So moved, Chairman.
We have a motion for denial. Do we have a second? Second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed.
Oh, 3-1. Thank you, Mr. We got item C.
Mr. Chairman, it might be good to have just a brief discussion about what the commissioners considered with respect to the six criteria.
Sure, absolutely.
For this. Thank you for just a very brief discussion. Maybe let the commissioners say what they had considered.
Yeah. This is, for me, this is the third, fourth one that's come in front of us, and all of them been really tough because some of them had to do with children, some of them had to do with adults, some of them had to do with troubled teens, the whole gamut of issues that we all know are issues in our community. And it has nothing to do with whether there's a need for this program, nothing to do with it. It's not a heartfelt gesture. It's not a, there is nothing in my mind that says this is not coming from a true and honest place. But we have criteria to go by based on what land maps have been designed in the past, by what that area is already zoned as, what the residents in that area pretty much have been, what they bought their house for, what they bought it with, what they, all the things that were zoned in that area for that reason. We've always, most of the time, unless it's extraordinary circumstances, we went by the recommendation of planning and zoning. And I don't think this is any different. As hard as the decision is when it comes to children and people in need, no matter who or where they are, I don't think our decision is to determine whether there's need. It's determine whether it fits the criteria of what were our guidelines and regulations. And I had, it talks about the suitable view of the use and development of that property and nearby property, changing conditions that affect the use and development of property, and the proposed zoning and economic use that is currently zoned would be changed regardless. I mean, that is absolutely going to be changed. So that's where my decision came from.
Mr. Pitt?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It was a residential area, and that's what it's intended for. And a lot of the residents wanted to keep it residential for future plans and future growth, and also going along with some of the recommendations from planning and zoning. It's just my recommendation is to leave it as is and not to make the change with the conditional use.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, basically the same thing Sam said, but under the applicable regulations, 154.1, .2, and .4.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin?
It's sort of personal to me because a year ago, I was here making a similar request for children and it got denied. I chuckle internally because the America that I know of is a land of freedom and opportunity. And what this board does repetitively is deny those and diminish those. And I think that's un-American, much like the right to bear arms, which I enjoy. I don't want somebody telling me where I can't take my gun, just as much as I can't stand somebody telling me what I can't do with my land. So for those reasons, I have a problem. This board can do anything it wants to do because the right falls down to us. But these are your elected officials, and they chose this particular path. For homeowners in the area, you know, I understand some concerns, but what's amazing is there are some homes that probably house more than 6 people on a regular basis, and you don't have a clue that these people are there. Ms. Lipsey is up front telling me what her intentions are, and it's no different than being a landlord. So for that reason, I'm a little disappointed, but this is the norm. So wish you all well and hope you're able to do it in some other facility or location.
Thank you very much. Item C on your zoning.
She had her hand up, Chairman.
Chairman, item C is a request by Brant Harrell. He owns
No, just she had
32.
her hand up. That was it.
It's Brandy right quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would just like to know if it's even legal for Sam to pass his vote, because it's a conflict of interest. I grew up with him in the same house with him majority of my childhood.
Ma'am, if I may answer that, as far as a legal conflict of interest, that would require something like him having a financial interest in it. If he were asking the board to do something he would profit from, I think if a member of his immediate family were the applicant, that would be a legal conflict. As far as knowing people, I think most every time there's a zoning matter, some or all of the commissioners know the people involved. A lot of times they're good friends, people they've known a long time. Just knowing somebody for or against a zoning request is not a legal conflict of interest.
Is it when he goes up and down the road talking to people about what his opinion of it is?
Well, that's no, ma'am. That would not be a legal conflict of interest.
I couldn't, because you and your husband, Raymond does work for me, and I felt it, necessary for me to remove myself.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Harrell has 32 acres on Highway 18 with very limited road frontage. He, a couple of years ago, built a deer processing facility on this property. And if Mr. Harrell, if I speak incorrectly, please correct me. But I believe he's having a tax conservation easement problem. They want the property separated to be able to leave his agricultural property in a tax conservation easement. And so for that reason, he's asking to subdivide his property, creating a 4 or 5 acre parcel with the house and the shop, and then the remainder of the property to be able to remain in agricultural status. Because this is a variance, private road variance, Planning Commission does not make a recommendation.
Okay. Mr. Harrell, would you like to come forward and speak?
Start with, I'm not Brant Harrell. I'm Cheryl Harrell. That this deer processing is mine and my children. He just kind of helps out. To start with, we really do not want to separate our property. We're forced to do this because that's the only way we can get it out of conservation. We don't want to separate our property. When we done this, we done everything in good faith. We got a building permit, done everything we're supposed to do. We crossed our T's, dotted our I's. They allowed us to do this. Well, sometime later, tax assessor decided, no, you can't do this. You're in conservation. So after we build the building and after we open it up, then they told us we couldn't do it. We do have a 30-foot easement. Back when we done this, we were going to come in front of the board to allow a deer processing. And Tim come to us and says, no, you don't have to because you're already in conservation. I mean, you're already in ag, you're doing what you can do in ag. I just wanna let y'all see. I got all our paperwork, just in case.
The deer killer was approved to be in ag already way before we ever built it. We talked about this for a year and a half.
I can look on, here you go, man. I can look on somebody. Thank you.
Do you have anything? But this is just kind of gives y'all some light on it, that we did not do this, without permission.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I found out today that the tax assessors not only want us to divide our property, they want to turn it into commercial property. I don't want that. I want it to stay ag. But he told my husband today, no, it can't stay ag. It's got to go commercial.
When we done this, Tim, it was approved to do under ag. You approved it, you and the office next across the hall or whatever. We all had meetings on it and talked about it. What's changed in 4 or 5 years, we had to pay the $150 back then, and I think it was refunded, or you called us and told us to take the zoning sign down. You know, we took the sign down. We didn't come to the meeting because there wasn't one. Everything was okay to have it in ag for the deer processing facility. And it's on the old permits and stuff, what it was for. And now here 5 years later, it's no good again. And we're back at the same deal. So last time it was in Underwood's office, I think we had the meeting. And this time it's up here at the Board of Commissioners, probably the best place for it. I hope we can get to a happy medium somewhere where everybody can come out of this happy.
Any questions from the board for the Harold? Mr. Martin?
So what has changed is the new tax assessor's opinion of what ag purposes are? Is that what you're saying?
No, so I'm not saying that. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody.
Okay.
I don't know who's, why the problems here, but it existed before it come around for conservation renewal, and we had a meeting up here about it. I don't remember when it was. Do you remember, Tim? That was a few years ago.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago.
And then we were told one thing by Ms. Sibley, if we had a problem, we were gonna fix it over there in that office. And then, now that we've got a problem again, it can't be fixed in that office, it has to come over here before y'all. And the property can't be in ag anymore. It's got to be on commercial for whatever property has to come out of that. My gripe is, it was okay for ag, for agricultural use. And I went and got copies of that today from your office. I don't see nowhere in there where it says deer cooler. But I don't see nowhere in there where it says that you can't have a deer cooler in it. And I can understand where Tim was coming from reading it. I don't see where we cross no lines using our property. With everything we've done, it's like Cheryl said, we've done out of good faith. We try to do everything right to keep from having any problems. And here we are.
My question is this. I just pulled up the Department of Community Affairs website and looked at top 10 ag products, and of course cotton, peanuts, chicken, eggs, greenhouse, nursery, cattle, and calves. And I don't see much difference between a cow and a deer, other than, yes, you can get milk from one. So it falls under the same guidance.
Mr. Martin, there's a lot of cows out there, many they can put on the property.
Right.
That deer cooler takes up probably half a 3/4 acre portion, right in between some cow pastures.
Right.
Barbed wire fences with cows feeding on the fence.
Yeah, and my point is that they're all animals that we consume in the normal course of doing business. So, and I would ask this of Tim, is what they're doing outside of the ag law for conservation?
You're dealing with two different things here. Okay. All I can speak to is the zoning law.
Right.
What they're doing is in compliance with the zoning law.
Fair enough.
We made a change to the zoning regulations 5 or 6 years ago, allowing deer processing facilities as what we call a cottage industry, and it's a permitted use in the agricultural district. So anybody can walk in my office with agriculturally zoned property, get a permit for a deer cooler, and go on about their business. That's the issue over there. As far as tax conservation easements and that stuff, I don't know anything about it, can't advise people on it, and that's a matter for the tax assessor. When they talk about the property is going to be designated commercial, they're not talking about the zoning of the property, it remains agricultural. What they're talking about is the classification that they're assigning to the property based on use, and saying since they've got a commercial use, I assume they're saying, well, that we're going to tax them commercially on the property.
And it is up to us to decide whether or not the conforming status that you had previously is what we'll allow to continue.
The issue before you all is should Mr. Harrell be allowed to subdivide his property, creating a 4 or 5 acre parcel out of his existing 30-acre piece of property. That's the issue before you all.
Right, but it sounds like
Against our wishes, though.
right, like we're
We
making
didn't want us to divide our property.
right.
We never asked anybody, about dividing. When we were all talking about this originally, you had to have a certain number of acres according to you yourself to have the food processing facility. We met that requirement. Now you're telling me I got to take, or the tax office, excuse me, I've got to take property out of that property for the deer cooler. To me, it makes no sense. We're digging a deeper hole than what we dug when we started this mess.
Right. I think we've got two different boards involved. This board's, the reason for him having to do this is so he can reapply, or I'm presuming reapply for conservation on the remaining land. So if he pulls that deer cooler out, he can still maintain his conservation. If he does not pull the deer cooler out, he loses conservation. So the reason for us, he's asking a request for, is to get this variance so that he can do this, so that he can go back and plat this out separate from the remaining. I hope I'm describing it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So that he can maintain his conservation and go forward. And now the other board had to decide on.
Right, and I understand that. My question is, should he have to? Because it sounds like it was a conforming use prior, and it's not now. And is that different? I don't know land conservation law, and that's why I default to the zoning and the application of what he knows. Should they have to pull it out is my question. It doesn't seem like they have to, but then are we forcing him to be out of compliance with land conservation use and the applicable tax laws by the tax assessor?
So that's where two boards are coming in. They're having to do this so they can satisfy the other.
And is that changing his tax value on 4 or 5 acres as opposed to a conservation on 36 acres? Which I think is what he's saying. I didn't want to do this to begin with. And if he was allowed to do it to begin with, what has changed? I'm just wondering if we're putting the cart in front of the horse, if we've exhausted all avenues through the tax board before it comes here to have to make that decision, before he has to make a decision whether he wants to carve it out or not.
This is the solution that they're coming up with, is what my understanding is, so that they can write what has been issued in the past to correct with.
I'm glad Commissioner Martin asked that question, because the only issue we can deal with here tonight is this request.
That's correct.
It's a zoning issue tonight. If the Board of Tax Assessors is wrong, then these folks have a remedy if you wanted to appeal that.
Sure.
But tonight, it's just this, as Commissioner Martin asked.
But if we table tonight's discussion, is there a timeline on getting the appeal process and all that? If that's
I don't know where they are in that. My suggestion would be y'all vote on this tonight.
I think we need to go forward with this and make a vote on this so they can go to the other board and rectify it there. That's how it's been explained to me, so.
And that's kind of what they're asking, right?
This is not the only time I've heard this.
I don't know, I'm principal, I don't know about this legal stuff, but I know right's right and wrong's wrong. And we've been wrong from the get-go on this thing.
Right. But this is what you've decided is the best thing to do. This is what y'all are asking for.
This is what was advised.
That's what they're advising us.
We got to do what they're advising. This ain't what we wanted to do.
Well, you could have appealed that. That might have been the best thing to do, but you didn't. So we're here now, and
this is just what they told us that we could do. They didn't really, and I hadn't talked to him, so other than this, I didn't know we had another choice.
So
my thing of it is, if we take,
but this is how they're having to fix it. there's a lot of, we'll have to discuss later, but I mean, there's a lot of discussion as far as how to fix some stuff that's happened in the past. Quick question, let me ask a quick question. Is anybody in the room opposed to this request? Okay, we got that out of the way.
My other question might be, and you might can answer this, and you may not can answer this, and Tim may can answer. But if we take the 2 acres, which we got 3 plus whatever acres, but they did tell us we didn't have to take but 2 acres. But if we take the 2 acres out of conservation and we decided that we're just going to call it quits and move on, then if somebody else buys a property, then they got to wait, what, 10 years to put it back into conservation?
I don't know, that's a question for the other board.
Question for them, isn't it?
Right, but
I have more questions for them than I do y'all. I'm sorry.
And the other problem is if they take it out of tax conservation, then they're liable for the tax exemptions that they got. Is that correct?
Well,
at this point, it's already, it's up for renewal now.
What we've got to do is vote on their variance that they're requesting so they can go forward with the other board and correct this, and this is the means of what they've been doing to correct it.
Again, but the homeowner, I mean, the property owner does not want to do that. That is what was recommended. You know, I'm uncomfortable with this, and I would say that I would look for a higher opinion. If we don't know in this room whether or not this business fits inside of ag, then I don't think we should be ruling on this. I would motion the table and ask ACCG or somebody else to look into this a little deeper.
Well, really, that's not the case, because the deer processing can go up under the ag. That's really not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is just breaking up the property and separating.
You're wanting to make a...
I was just going to mention the action of the board tonight, if you voted to approve this, doesn't immediately subdivide their property. They'd have to hire a surveyor, create a new plat, and present it to me for approval. And once I approve it and it gets recorded, at that point the property's subdivided. They'd have 1 year from the date of approval to get that accomplished. So even if y'all went forward and approved it for them, it doesn't happen until they decide it happens.
Sure, and if they decide they don't need it, they can go either way. But this gives them the avenue to correct with the other board at that time. So, any more questions? We can go forward with a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved.
A second.
Second. Any more discussion?
So they got 1 year to back out of this conservation separation.
This is a avenue they're taking to correct what has happened. You know, this isn't the only one I've heard about.
Right.
They're just trying to help these the landowners and homeowners correct some situations that's happened in the past.
I hear you saying that they're trying to help the homeowner try to correct the situation. Sounds to me like somewhere the situation for the homeowner got jacked up to begin with. So maybe that's the issue that needs to be fixed before we have a last resort.
Sure.
I'm glad that there's a year that you can.
Sure.
Well, I like to figure out how to get it fixed before we dig in even deeper.
Sure.
You know, because this is all against what we wanted to do to begin with.
This give you the tools to fix it if this is the route you need to take.
Yeah.
By our
That is,
approval.
yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Again, I still think we ought to look to ACCG to review this, because if this is a county issue, it sounds like it's not singular, and I'd rather be on the right side of this than the wrong side and cause any undue harm or tax implications for the property owner.
Sure. Okay.
What are the ramifications of tabling?
Just delaying their timeline. I don't know what their goal is for getting this accomplished. You can table it. I have to look in the regulations, I believe up to 120 days. So then if it happened to get approved at that point, then they'd have to hire a surveyor and get all this done before the end of the year. I assume they're going to try to re-enter the CUVA first of next year.
We were trying to get this done and keep it in. I mean, at this point, I'm fed up with it. And she's about to get fed up with it too.
Well, my only other concern, which does not affect y'all one way or the other, but it affects us, is that the tax assessors is going to make us do something like ASAP.
You know, and they told me today already. She sent me over there with a notebook with questions, and I got it right in my pocket to ask them. And one of the things she wanted me to ask was, this land that you're going to make us take out of our ag property stays in ag, right? Because the deer cool, when it was approved for ag. And they told me no. And I said, well, how do you come up with that? Because when we built it, it was, you know, I mean, everything was already approved. I had the zoning signed and everything.
That's when you'll have to go before, you had to appeal the other board at that time.
Office, but this seems like to me that, you know, they just swapping from putting on their bike to his bike to their bike to his bike, and here we are jumping back and forth, and we're not legal experts. We don't know what to do.
Commissioner,
That's the reason we were here the first time, to get it right.
Right, and I would really like you guys to sit down with Tim and so that, or somebody from the tax assessor's office, so you can understand the appeal process, so that you go about it the right way. Because like I said, none of us, well, Attorney Childs and Jason's attorneys, but I want you to have an attorney or somebody with the advice to give you good advice and good counsel, so you guys make a wise decision with the whole appeal process. So please do that. So Tim, if you'll please guide them and point them in the right direction and try to get them some help.
Commissioner, yeah, I think first of all, we need to hear from these people as to whether they want this to be put off.
Okay.
I mean, and I think everybody on the board understands this. The Board of Tax Assessors is completely independent from this board. This board, by law, and there are good reasons for it, cannot tell the Board of Tax Assessors how to value land, what to do over in that office, because you're talking about people and their property and money, and that's the reason the commissioners can have nothing to do with that office, other than you appropriate their funds, you appoint the members of the Board of Tax Assessors. Other than that, you by law can't do anything about it.
Mr. Childs, I was told 100% completely opposite from what you just said over there today.
Right.
Well,
That what happens over here has everything to do with what's going to happen over there.
and it does with respect to that's why I'm saying you're here asking this board to do something related to zoning. And they have every right in the world to do that, to do the zoning of that property.
Yes, sir.
They've got nothing to do with the taxation of it, whether it's in conservation, out of conservation. That's the Board of Tax Assessors. That's the reason I'm saying I know I can tell everybody here wants to help y'all.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but I don't know if putting it off helps you or not. But I think the board needs to hear whether y'all want them to vote tonight. I think I'm reading what the vote would probably be is what you're asking for. I mean, I maybe shouldn't anticipate it, but I think that's the way it's leaning to do what you're asking. But if y'all don't want them to do it tonight, you need to tell them that. I mean,
Yes, sir.
This will give you the tools to go down to the other board and correct the problem. And if you decide not to, you don't have to go through with it. So, you know.
We still have options.
And if you don't like what happens with the board, you have every right in the world to appeal what the Board of Tax Assessors is doing. Now, I don't know when all this started. The first I heard about this was when y'all started talking a few minutes ago. I don't know the background, but if you want to, I would suggest you talk to a lawyer about maybe appealing what they're doing over there.
2012, I think.
Well, it's actually longer than that. But
I mean now. I mean what they're doing now, this current thing.
what he's doing.
Yes, sir.
So at this point, we have a motion and a second.
So do they want to go ahead, Mr.
Do you
Chairman?
want us to go ahead with the vote? So you'll have the tool to fix this? And you don't have to go through it. I mean, if you, down the road, you say you don't want to do it, as Mr. Trasker said, you don't have to do it. But this gives you the tools
To do what we need to do if we
do what you
have
need
to
to do
it.
to correct what's taking place down the hall.
Okay.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have
They
it.
won't.
I thank y'all for your time.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Opposed? You were aye or opposed?
I was because that's what they want to do. Jason, and I would like Jason or either Tim, well, probably Jason, to follow up with ACCG to find out whether or not A, their processing is an approved ag and can be in conservation, and then B, do they have to remove their property out of conservation and designated commercial? Okay, thanks.
Mr. Trasker?
Mr. Chairman, item D is a request by Ronnie Henson to allow an addition to an existing wholesale warehouse. He has had two similar requests approved. In 2003, he was approved for the wholesale warehouse on this property, and in 2007, he had another conditional use approved for his first addition. He's come back now asking for a second addition to this building. Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
Mr. Henson, would you like to come forward?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Most of you know that we started a business here in Jones County about 23 years ago, and we had an opportunity to sell out to a national company back in July, and I feel a lot better. I'm breathing a lot better. But the request is to the national company is requesting us to add on to the existing building. My wife and I, we own 3000 Gray Highway, which is right next to Watson Plumbing. We also own 3006 Gray Highway, which is the building to our left. So just wanted you guys to, if you have any questions, I'm available.
Any questions for the applicant?
And it's used for the, just to expand the same purpose that is that 3,000?
Right.
All right, there's no question. Anybody in the audience opposed to this request? If none,
I made the motion to approve the conditional use.
have a motion and a second. If any discussion, if none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, our final item on the agenda is item E. It's a request by Dan Green to be able to subdivide 82 acres on Green Settlement Road. He currently has one home on this property, and he's proposing to subdivide his property into 3 lots. Because this is a variance and similar in nature to what we were just talking with the Harrells, there is not a recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Mr. Green, are you here tonight?
I am.
Would you like to come forward?
How y'all gentlemen doing?
Good news.
Just fine.
I included you too, Frank.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I don't want to subdivide it. My son, it's in conservation use, and as I understand conservation use, I can give a son or daughter up to 5 acres, and that's what I want to do. And when I went to get the variance for that, I realized I got 2 other children, so I decided if I'm gonna pay $150, I might as well go ahead and ask for 3 residents on it. And but it's, if you call that subdividing, that may be the right terminology, but we're not gonna split it up into 3 equal lots or anything else. And the drive is 30 foot wide, and all I want to do is be able to put 3 residents on.
Any questions?
In a nutshell.
Any questions for Mr. Green? Anybody in the audience opposed to this request? None? I need a motion.
Approve the variance, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion second. Any more discussion? None? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Y'all.
Thank you, Tim. Consent agenda and approval for minutes as we go forward. Work session on January 16th, 2018. We have a third Tuesday, January 16th, 2018. Executive session, January 16th, 2018, and a work session on January 29th, 2018. I need a motion for approval.
So moved, Chairman.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, moving forward, visitors. Maggie Kayla Steering Committee, Mr. Donald Black.
Looks like it.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you.
No, I can look on one of these guys. You got enough?
You could get Miss Betty to come up with you tonight.
She's there.
I know, I figured she'd come up. She's not.
Thank you.
Yes,
You want to join me?
it's like a reunion, isn't it?
How's everybody?
Doing well, thank you.
I almost told her to go take her old seat, but I didn't do that. Thank you for allowing us to just present to you what the Maggie Kayla Steering Committee is doing. Once we realized that the Board of Education would no longer be using that site for 9th grade or for the purposes that it is now stated, the 9th grade and the Achievement Academy, we wanted as a committee to preserve that building. We're both alumni of Maggie Kayla. Mine was 1963, so it puts a little age on me right there. But we're very supportive of that building. Our mission is to preserve the building and the site. There's a historical meaning for our community and the community at large. Since it was opened in 1955-56, Caleb has been the heart of our black community and the culture of and the center of our community. And every 2 years now we have a reunion
and people, alumni come from all over just to walk on the campus, just to see the buildings. And as we get older, we're not so much walking on the campus, being pushed in wheelchairs and walkers, but we still have that feeling of being a rattler. What we have done, we have visited 4 schools in the middle central Georgia area that have been closed and been repurposed. We have been assisted greatly in our efforts, along with the Housing Committee, from the Macon Housing Authority. And the Infield Housing Authority. They have they have conducted tours for us. The most recent one was the Hunt Magnet School, which I retired as principal a few years back. That school is now on Sheridan Drive as the Senior Center, Hunt Senior Center community, and it has been totally repurposed. We have conducted a needs assessment, and we prioritize the results. We have talked to community planners and architects involved in the repurposing of schools, and we have organized the Maggie Califf Alumni Association. We've secured an EIN number and a PO box, and in the process of becoming incorporated and obtaining a 501c3 status. The assessment results are as follows. Top need was senior mixed housing for low and medium income adults. A site for veterans to receive information, process form, and be given a cursory physical assessment. Work assistance, computer stations for citizens to use to apply for employment and personal usage, to provide classes for interview techniques and work ethics, to extend adult classes under Central Georgia Technical College. Number 1 under that, CNA certification is presently obtained either in Macon or Millersville. Higher level computer classes for adults, teaching the use of Word, Excel graphics, and the use of iPad, iPhones, and other technical devices. If you're of a certain age, iPhones and iPads really present a challenge. These young kids, I give it to my great nephew, please fix this. I don't know, I probably sent something to Australia somewhere. So adults have come, we need classes where we won't feel like we are totally out of touch. That we're with our peers to go step by step and teach us how to use these technical things that almost everybody has. Office space and public rooms. The Boys and Girls Club, as you know, the rooms are, they're crowded. Business offices, which we really looked at Edenton. A lot of the city and county government offices are in that old school in Edenton. Senior recreation and large event venue. Moving forward, we want to continue to solicit community input and involvement. Have the MGRC to look at the possibilities that we have identified. Consult with Dean Nelson from DCA to advise on the possibility of funding, answers to questions raised to the BOE to address, and continued collaboration with both governmental entities. So we're looking probably 2020 when the building will be vacated. Hopefully by that time we will have our plans ready to do something with that site. Thank you for your time. We want to keep you apprised of what we are doing and what we hope to do. Any questions, ask our chairperson.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
And we will continually keep you informed as something changes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we have Alakabar B. Tabadaba. I hope I didn't butcher that too bad, did I? How do you say that last name? Okay.
You did do good.
I didn't do good. This is Allie's Brick Oven.
Mr. Chairman, he told me to use, all of us use his first name, which is the name of that good restaurant that was on Upper River Road for so many years.
Okay.
Ali.
And I'm Marty Leverett, and I represent him for years.
All right.
Sorry for that. I'm looking okay. We discussed that for the meeting. That's all right. How do we?
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
what this involves is a realignment of Upper River Road out in front of Ali's. When it was, I think it was 2008 was when the road was straightened or realigned out there. And in essence, it moved the right-of-way away from the property line of Lot 8A, which Mr. Tommy Coulter and Ms. Ruby White own. Ali has got the property under contract. So we didn't want a strip of land, which is the yellow part there, not being conveyed along with the other property that he's buying so that he would have access to a public road, which is the realigned road evidenced by the pink area there. So Mr. Coulter and Ms. White are here to confirm if you had any question about the purchase, and we wanted to do the deed to Mr. Coulter and Ms. White since they are the property owners right now and not have a gap if something were to go awry, as sometimes things do. But that's basically what we're asking for, is for the county to convey the property, which is disclosed in yellow, to them so that when they sell, it will include access to the realigned right-of-way.
Attorney Childs, you recommendation for the
Yes.
board, or how?
Yes, I've been talking to Mr. Levy about this for several weeks, as well as Mr. John Newberry, who represents Tommy and Ruby. The right-of-way originally, back many years ago, came from their family. When the road moved, and Sam, I know you know this very well living out there, when that curve got fixed several years ago, it left part of that highway, Upper River Road, some of the pavement there being basically abandoned. It's just there. This gives it back, first of all, to the Coulters and Ms. White and Mr. Coulter, and then they're going to convey it to Ali. And that's what should happen to it anyway. It goes back when a road, county road, is not used anymore. It goes back to the owner or the successor in title. So this would really get it back where you'll be paying taxes on it. We're not getting any taxes on it now. Thank you.
Your recommendation to the board to
Yes,
correct this?
Yes, sir. To have the chairman sign it, to authorize the chairman to sign it.
So it's just been sitting out there, basically not going, it should have went back, reverted back after we finished.
If anybody had ever asked, it's something that when the landowners ask for it to go back, it's usually done.
Motion to approve, Chairman.
Motion, we have a second. Some more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
You'll use that deed.
The deed will be signed, and our clerk will be back in town later this week. She's at a conference, I think, and it'll be attested, and either she'll file it or get it back to you, or you'll for filing, Mark.
Okay, and that's the deed that you have?
Yes, sir.
There.
We'll use that as the original.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. See y'all.
Thank you.
Is that going too fast for you?
No, you good.
Okay, so far, so good. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, new business, adoption fees. Mr. John Jackson, you're up.
Jason, you got somewhere to keep that. That's the deed that needs signed. You want me to keep it and get it to you, or you got something to put it on?
I can put it in the note.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
How y'all doing?
Good evening.
Good. I'm coming up here tonight. We got a little bit of an issue that I've noticed since I started. The follow-up on the animals. When you adopt an animal from animal control, you got 30 days to get it spayed, neutered, and rabies shot. Inevitably, at the end of that 30 days, we haven't received notification from a veterinarian. We start calling, looking for the people that adopted the animal. They've moved, they've been evicted, the phones have been cut off. Probably 50% of the people that adopt animals from us don't do what they're supposed to do, and we can't find them. To try to solve this problem, we've come up with what I think is a pretty decent solution. If I can control whether the animals get spayed or neutered, that would solve it. The way to do that, and to be fair to everybody, is, and I've called 4 different veterinary clinics around the area, the 2 here in Gray, Gordon Animal Clinic, and Dr. Campbell at Heart of Georgia. Those seem to be the go-to for everybody in this area anyway when I talk to them. I've got the spay and neuter prices from all 4 of those, plus rabies shots. We're going to start doing rabies shots at the shelter by Dr. Moore when he's available. When he's out of town, they'll kick into this. Set our adoption fees at whatever it may be. Right now it's $20. We can keep it at $20, or we can even drop it. I mean, that's up to y'all. But to include the price of the spay and neuter of whatever animal they got, and let them choose from the list of vets. I've got all their prices listed, and I can say, look, you can choose from one of these 4 vets. That fee is included in your adoption fee. If it's $20 and it costs Dr. Denner to $60 to spay a dog, then your adoption fee is $80. We pay the vet, and here's the other problem. We've offered free spay and neuter clinics before, giving out certificates. The spay and neuter van shows up in the parking lot. They still don't come. Free. They still won't do it. It's just laziness. We take the dog to the vet. We drop it off. We pay the vet because the people have already paid us. The vet calls the customer, says your dog's ready for pickup. They go pick their dog up, problem solved. The adoption fee in Macon, I think, is $80. A couple other counties I've caught to, one of them's $150, but all of them include the spay and neuter. But they have the same problem that we have of not being able to find, if they have a dog that's not spayed or neutered and they run out of space, they adopt them out. This solved a couple of issues. One of the issues I was discussing with Mr. Risner was, you know, I had one thing where we just spayed and neutered everything we got in, raise our adoption prices to cover spay and neuter, but certainly we're going to have to put something down one day that we've invested the spay and neuter cost in. That wouldn't sit well with anybody. So this stops that from happening. It also weeds out, I'm not trying to be ugly, but there's a lot of people that adopt animals that really don't need them. Can't afford to take care of them the proper way, and that's because it's only $20. And so this will help with that too. That's that. Any questions?
Question from the board? I feel like it's a good idea to have them done prior to adoption.
Right, before they walk out, before they take that animal to their house, it's done.
You get the money up front.
That's the adoption fee. I've got to, if y'all want to look at it, it's just, all it is the 4 different vets and their charges for what it is. And here's your list of vets. Here's the list of prices. Our fee, $10, $20 plus that cost.
And we're gonna take them to the vet before they get the dog.
We'll take them to the vet, drop them off. They'll call them to come pick them up when it's done.
There's a reason why we won't say a reason why, but there's a benefit to going somewhere where it's $20 to adopt a dog. If you're going to pay to have your dog spayed or neutered anyway, then you're paying the same thing. So we're not putting anything on any that the average Joe honest person is going to do anyway. So I don't think we're adding any burden to anybody. I think it's our responsibility to maintain the welfare of the animals.
And state law requires it, by the way, if you didn't know. If you adopt a dog from an animal shelter, state law requires you have to get that dog spayed or neutered. And they give us the 30-day grace period to work with people, but it's not working.
Sure. So at this time, we need a motion to give John the
motion to approve, Chairman. Second.
Motion to second. Any more discussion?
Couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Spay and neuter is the only requirement. Rabies shot is not.
Rabies shot is.
Okay.
Now the rabies shots that'll be added in. The Dr. Moore charges, is it $20, Mr. Risner, or did he go up? Right. I think he might have requested $1 more or something. But the price of the rabies shot will be included in the fee.
Okay.
That pays Dr. Moore.
All right. And how many vets do we have in?
We have 2 in Gray. The next 2 closest is in Gordon, and Dr. Campbell is on Highway 22, just across the county line.
So, okay. And then my response is going to be kind of like what Macon Bib does with their, what do you call those guys? They pick up dead people. Coroner. Thank you. Brain fart. All right. So can we rotate that so we don't show any particular favoritism to one doctor or the other?
I thought about that, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Okay. I'm not going to give any names. Gordon. Let me try that again.
Start at the bottom.
This animal clinic For dogs, it's $60 spay, $40 neuter. Cats is 50 and 30. For this one, dogs under 30 pounds, 154. 31 to 60, 165. 61 to 90, 176. Over 90, 187. All cats, $88. This one, dogs 100.
Okay.
So
just in fairness to, especially our county businesses, if they want to fall in with the price structure that we have, I would like it to rotate if it's possible, so that way everybody gets a fair shake.
And that's an opportunity to bid out for those services too.
Right, now that was the next thing, if it was gonna, because if I come up here to adopt a dog and I can pay $100, like this one here, the most it would cost is $80 to adopt a dog. And then you tell me, well, the rotation for your dog is gonna cost you $187 plus our adoption fee. Well, you're just gonna keep the dog. That was the issue I had going with that. I do know that there are loyal customers to particular vets. They'll go where they're going to go regardless of the price. I do know that. But
at adoption time, they can select the doctor they want to send the dog to. Problem solved. Thank you.
Yes. And motion is second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
I have something else I wanted to add. This is completely off topic. It wasn't on the agenda. It was kind of a last minute thing that happened. And I'm going to try to make it as fast as I can, if that's okay. Is that? And give y'all one.
Sticking it in there.
Snuck it in.
You can't vote on it tonight. Can't vote on it tonight.
I might run the whole thing now.
Not unless you got some way to.
Well,
Right, yeah.
Yes, I don't know if it I'll let you tell me. This was an opportunity that was brought to me Saturday afternoon. This is a animal control truck that was used by Gwinnett County. It's a Ford F-350, 2008 model. You see what I wrote at the top: new alternator, new tires, brakes. It's been fleet serviced. It's in perfect shape. The man brought it down. We actually drove it. It's got an air conditioned box on the back. If you flip through some of the papers, all I showed on there was the things that it don't have. Those are the things I have crossed out. And that particular box on this truck in 2013, the base price on that box is almost $11,000. The additions that this box has brought it up to $14,000. I can get the whole truck for $5,600. I already have that in my budget, in the donation line item, and also in the equipment under $5,000 line item. So just basically, I don't know what I'm asking for here. Good graces, blessings.
We have to vote because it's under the requirement.
No, I would think if he has the money in his budget,
he can just do that.
Yeah.
Right. I just wanted to come up. I didn't want to show up with a truck and say, "Hey, y'all."
Yeah.
I can see you doing that.
And those donations are not earmarked specifically?
No, sir. No, sir. I talked with Levita. The donations earmarked for the SPLOST are in the SPLOST. This is a separate line item, and if anybody wants to see it, I have the complete maintenance history on that truck since day one.
You just give us a heads up and a courtesy, let you know that.
I don't want nobody crucifying me because I went out and did something like that.
That's a heck of a deal, especially the air-conditioned boxes and
Yes.
that many animals.
And if we had to down the road, the box was in good shape, it could be transferred to another.
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking he gets a good deal on a truck. If you took the box off, who else needs a truck? Can you find more?
I've got a car I can give somebody.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. If y'all don't want those, y'all can do
Appreciate it.
All right, under new business number 2, Transportation Enhancement Agreement, and authorized resolution 201-802-1R for sidewalks and various locations at Haddock Landscape. I think, Mr. Risman, this is you.
Go for it. Go for it. Let's start.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this goes back to funding from 2011, a project that we've been working towards that will provide sidewalks in various locations going out to the high school, coming back and going out to the recreation complex. There's streetscape work in Haddock. There's some additional sidewalk work kind of in front of the Ingalls area and the post office area. this is a process that we've been working through, certainly during my time and lots before that. And so we're getting very close to the point where it'll be able to go out for bid. This is the next step in the process. And so this is the T agreement. And in your binder there, you have an authorizing resolution that authorizes the chairman to sign that agreement and other documents related to the project.
Motion to approve, Chairman. But no. Thank you. Enough said.
Second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, board. Local Government Risk Management Service, ACCG Wellness Grant. Who got that one?
Get on that.
Matt, is that you? We're just trying to throw everybody.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Last night we had a marathon meeting. Went over a lot of good information from our Blue Cross Blue Shield agents. And, you know, Commissioner Pitts has been a huge advocate for a while on employee wellness for Jones County. And we've had a wellness program for as long as I've been employed. Jill Thompson did it when she was here as HR director. When she left, we had a void, so I took it over at that time. And throughout that, we've had different members, and Tiffany and Angie are both members of it right now. And so we get money throughout the year. Well, we get money once a year for doing different aspects in the wellness, and it comes from LGRMS. And the money varies based on what they have to offer and how many counties get in and go for the grant. So that money varies. I think this year was $3,500. Get 2 checks, $1,750 a piece, if I ain't mistaken. We already got the first one. Second one to come in another month or so. We'll get the second check in. We use this money to do different programs for the county employees. Part of it is, as you know, county employee has a wellness center back here they have 24 access to. That's one thing. Commissioner Pitts has been asking me to try to, in the committee, to work out a way to create incentive programs to get the employees active year-round and have them do different goals and steps. And as they complete these goals or short-term challenges, like for say, then they get different incentives along the way. The first thing we're going to try to implement starting in April, do it April, May, June, is going to be Blue Cross Blue Shield of Georgia offers a electronic HRA. It's basically an information gathering step where once employees complete that, they can receive a gift card from Blue Cross Blue Shield that they don't get it anywhere they want to, but there's an array of places they can choose to get that gift card from as a means of going online and taking that first challenge or that first step towards their wellness. Along with that, we want to, and you know, this is something that is going to take buy-in from the commission and also going to take buy-in from department heads to help motivate their employees to be a part of it. I mean, wellness is something you have to choose to do. It's not something just going to happen to you. But we did find out last night that Jones County, specifically, our biggest challenge is diabetes. So that's one thing that we really need to focus on as a county for our employees is diabetes education and different steps to inform our employees and try to make them better, whether it's eat better, exercise better, or just be better informed of diabetes. As we know, there's different things that cause our insurance premium to go up. There's an array of things, so I couldn't sit here and say one thing's going to bring it down. But the less times we have to go to the doctor, the less time we have to go to the emergency room, the less time we get admitted into the hospital, obviously that helps, and that's what we want to try to start targeting. So I'm here tonight to inform you that we are starting this challenge to the employees, and I'm, more or less want to, make sure we get y'all support. Some of these challenges may or may not be during work hours. We're going to try to do as many of them as we can before or after work. One of the things we're going to try to start doing is opening up this gymnasium and Mattie Wells Gymnasium at 6 o'clock in the morning, 1 day a week, to where the employees can come and walk inside of a controlled environment prior to starting work, if they choose to. Hopefully they will. And, you know, just different things of that nature to try to give the opportunity. Some other things we're going to try to do is lunch and learns, again, to inform them on different things. And this is where we need buy-in from the commission, because obviously this stuff has to be funded somewhere. We talked about that last night, an array of opportunities to try to fund it. Currently, the only funding we have to start doing some of these programs is that $3,500 that we currently have through the LGRMS grant. Some other things we talked with the insurance company. I know on the agenda we got going out for bid, so that may or may not affect that. But is when we get ready to go through open enrollment, there's an opportunity for the commission to look at, they called it HRA, but it stands for something else. Whereas an opportunity for y'all to review something as a way for the insurance company to help with those incentive funds. So that's what I have to speak on tonight. And I wish I could say, you know, I know what it's, you know, what we talked about, and me and Levita and Commissioner Pitts, we've done the dollar amount. So if I sat here and said, if every county employee achieved every step that was put before them each quarter of the year, we would be looking at about $16,000. All right. Now, obviously, that money's got to come from somewhere. Now, do I think every county employee is going to jump on board and accomplish this? I don't know. But one of my holdups, and I expressed this last night, Commissioner Pitts, is before we roll this out, I want to make sure that logistically we have everything in place. I want the employees to know and have confidence in the program that we're there to see it all the way through. Because I'd hate for someone to step up and do their part and then look at us and we go, I didn't know you was going to do that. You know, so that's one thing I'm asking tonight. I don't know if Commissioner Pitts wants me to actually put to a vote, ask for that money, or if it's just tonight, just the information gathered. I'm ready to ask you for money now. But I do want you to be a food for thought. I'm hoping that April, May, June, with this first incentive thing that we're going to do, it really gives us some numbers as far as employees that are willing to even step up to start being a part of some type of wellness incentive. And then we can bring that to you to say, hey, we got 30%, 80%, or 90% of our employees willing to do it. And then that would help us going into budget time to see if it's really something that y'all want to jump on board and support at that time.
I think a work session prior to that, going through the different options, because there were several options and ideas that were shared last night that we can possibly look at that could be rewards from, you know, different areas or different ways. I think it would be healthy to have a good work session to and try to get the employees to participate in this also, so we can have input from them also.
Yeah.
Oh, we save time, just transfer it out of recreation.
I was thinking.
Second.
But I think the biggest
got all
thing,
the money, don't they?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is just trying to create a culture of wellness, sure. And it's just going to take the commissioners to buy into it. And another thing we do is just trying to get the program started. And I think the good part about this first initiative that we have in place is that every person that participates in it will at least get a $50 gift card. So there is a reward for you to participate in the program. And if you continue to participate in the program, it's up to $150 you can get in gift cards if you complete the 3 steps as part of the Blue Cross Blue Shield program. And what we'll do, being that it will be, I guess, interviewing different insurance companies to find out what type of wellness incentives that they have for us. When that time comes around, hopefully in part of the third quarter, July, August, and September, we will be able to put in place some of those tasks, but make sure people get the health, physical, dental, as well as eye exams. So this is the thing, it's just trying to create a culture of wellness. And everything, a lot of things that you read, it shows that it's a good positive. You get a return on your investment. So like this item that we're going to vote on in a few minutes about the capital recovery reinvestment program. It's an investment, but you're going to see a return on your investment. And I really believe we have an effective wellness program that will be a return on the investment. Healthy employees, productive employees, and it's also going to save the taxpayers money when it comes to our health care insurance. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. You good? All right. State Road and Tollway Authority, Georgia Transit Infrastructure Bank Grant.
Jump on it, don't need that.
I'll start off and then I'll hand it off to you. This is a grant that is made available annually, or has been the last couple of years at least, and they fund a variety of different transportation projects. Last year, you might recall, the board approved applying for funding for the roundabout there at Cumslow Road and the Highway 18 connector. That application wasn't funded. And we had the regional commission do the application for us there. The grant cycle for this just opened again. There is a grant program that you can apply for. There's also a loan element of this if there were a project out there that you wanted to apply for a loan to fund. But I've included in your packet the list of awards from last year, just to give you an idea of what projects they'd like to fund. It's nothing that you have to decide on tonight. I think we have until March 22nd to submit an application. So, so I might suggest that just over the next couple of weeks, the board can think about what projects y'all might be interested in applying for funding here, or you might have some ideas tonight. I know Commissioner Pitts and I have talked a little bit about this program before, and so anyway, the application period is open. It started January 22nd, I believe, and runs to March 22nd. So we've got a little bit of time to work through whatever the board might want to apply for there.
It gives the opportunity to look at it and see what we could use this for.
Right, and I would like to see, the board look at it, John look at it, but I also want the development authority to look at it when it comes to this rail spur that's needed for the industrial park. I'm sure they can apply for it, and hopefully they'll give them some additional funds that will get that rail spur and hopefully make our industrial park a little bit more attractive to a business and industry, because I know it's something that's needed, and this is grant money, so it's not a loan, something you have to pay back, and it's worth a try. So I just want to make sure that the board knows, the chairman knows, as well as our county administrator, that you guys sit in the development authority meetings, that you make sure they're aware of it, and hope they will, pursue it.
Sure. Any more discussion?
And I would add that let's get some public comment. A lot of times we have an idea what we think is best, but put it out on the website, give the public an opportunity to provide some feedback. I know there's some roads that probably need addressing or widening and everything else, but let's hear from the public on it.
Sure.
Can we get a one page or a flyer type that we can put on our website that breaks us down into layman's terms of what's eligible and what it's used for? Looks like motor fuel tax eligible projects are what they're considering, which basically state routes and bridges, highways and bridges generally. But it doesn't say if that's all that's eligible, or if that's what they prefer. Sure. So, and the other thing is can we put multiple projects in there, or does it need to be one big project more attractive to them?
It's on your to-do list, isn't it? Any more? That will go forward. Capital Recovery and Reinvestment Program for Jones County. We had a work session prior to our open meeting on this. Do we need to have a conversation on it?
Or do we need to make a motion, or do we need to
go out for
RFP? Go out for an RFQ, and then internally determine what we're looking for in that, so that when we do identify the company we want to work with to come to that agreement, we know what goals we have aligned for it and what we're looking for.
Fair enough.
All right. Very good with that. So,
make a motion, we go out for an RFQ for, I'm gonna have trouble with Capital Recovery and Reinvestment Program, ESCO, so.
All right, I have a motion. I have a second. Second. Any discussion? If none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Oh, ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Dalen, he made the motion, Dalen, second. I got you.
I'll give you time to catch up.
Got you.
Chuck, I got your back. I didn't kick you out as a clerk yet. You're hanging in there. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, good deal. All right, going forward to number 6, award bid for striping and rumble strips funded by LMIG Off System Safety Fund. Mr. Risen?
Mr. Chairman, this is you might recall, going back probably 9 months ago, the board authorized us to apply for, there's a separate pot of LMIG money separate from the quote unquote normal LMIG money that we get. And it's for a variety of different projects. At that time, the board approved applying for guardrails in 3 different locations and some rumble strips. We did receive an award that it was less than what we applied for, and so as we kind of thought through what we'd be able to do with the award amount, striping is an eligible expense under that program. There were a number of roads that needed to be striped, and so we went through and bid out the striping and rumble strips. The next item on your agenda is the guardrails that we bid out, and so you've got the bids in your packet there on page 74. So we received 5 bids. The low bid there was Mid-State Striping for $21,500. This program is a program where they provide funding. We have to match it with 30%, just like regular LMIG money. We did budget money in the Public Works budget that will cover this. Originally, we had planned to do SPLOST money. We can still use SPLOST to match the guardrails. Striping is more of a maintenance activity. And so the match for this particular item would come out of the regular Public Works budget. So it's my recommendation to the board that you approve the bid submitted by Mid-State Striping in the amount of $21,500.
We have a motion for that recommendation.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 7 is award bids for guardrails funded by LMIG Office of System Safety Funds. Again, Mr. Risner.
Same situation here, Mr. Chairman. This is so we originally had planned to do a large guardrail project on Light and Tie Road. It was over $100,000. Our award amount was $55,000. So we had to back that out, which left us with guardrails on Upper River Road and Masseyville at Henderson, if my memory's not failing me.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Patterson, Masseyville, Patterson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we received bids there. The low bidder there indicated that they had made a terrible error in calculating their amount and asked to withdraw that. So the low bidder there is C&H Construction Services. We requested the bid 2 different ways, one with new material, one with light new material, and C&H Construction Services did submit bids both ways. In talking with our Public Works staff, they feel like for the extra $1,500, it'd probably be better just to go ahead with the new material. So my recommendation would be to award the bid for guardrails to C&H Construction Services in the amount of $17,080.
All right. Need a motion for his recommendation for.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I had a quick question.
Sure.
Is this the first time C&H has bid on our projects? And how did they find out? I'm impressed that an out-of-state company beat in-state companies by almost $10,000.
Here's what I did on this whole deal. I somehow found a list of GDOT pre-qualified contractors, and it was divided out into different specialty areas. And so some of it's paving, some of it's right-of-way mowing. One of the things on the list was guardrail installation and repair. And so I just sent the bid packet. There was, I don't know, a half dozen maybe on that list that are GDOT pre-qualified. And so sent it to them, and I think they have an operation in the state of Georgia where they do a good bit of work for GDOT, and so that's kind of how they ended up with it. I did the same thing with the striping, just sent it to everybody on that GDOT list, in addition to people that just called and requested it.
I appreciate it, and I think our taxpayers are going to appreciate it if you continue to do that. I mean, the spectrum of pricing is just insane, and you did a good job of making sure those numbers came down. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm pleased with the response we got on the bids. It's long in coming.
About time.
All right. Number 8, is approval for going out for bid for health insurance. I think we need to change that. It's approval to go and start looking into our health insurance for our renewals to see where we stand, what we can do, possibly do better, possibly even incorporate this into the wellness plan as far as maybe an incentive through our health insurance to maybe look at something in that aspect. So rather starting late and getting caught, like we did last year at the last minute, I'd love to see the opportunity to go forward and just start early, and start shopping and see what we need to do so we can see what kind of opportunities we have out there.
Sounds good.
Agreed. All right. I'll just do that by consensus. Yep. All right. Good. All right. Number 9 is purchase a 2011 Ford with a Gosson Transit van.
That's right. And Mr. Chairman, if we could on this one, just delay it until next time. I'm still waiting on the paperwork back from DOT on this. This is an old transit van. You might remember a few months ago, the board authorized purchasing another van similar to this to be used by 4-H. I reached out to our senior center. They have a need for some additional transportation. They have issues now with the seniors getting up into a 15-passenger van. This one has, the low steps and actually has a lift built into it. And so at the appropriate time, I'd like to come back to the board and ask for authorization to purchase this van. I think we paid $3,500 for the one we bought a few months ago. So once I get the paperwork back from DOT, if it's okay, I'll come back to the board at that time.
Sure.
And ask for approval.
Absolutely. All right. Number 10 is approval for service delivery strategy. Last week we had an opportunity, the city and county, to get together and have a real great meeting as far as coming to agreement on our service delivery. City last night voted unanimously to approve what we had came up with a meeting. Basically, on your service delivery, you've got a packet. I think each one of you have a packet. Through that packet, there hadn't been a whole lot changed. We don't have Bibb County in the service delivery anymore because of the Macon Bibb merger. That's no longer in it. Changes. There was a couple errors on the map that was showing the current service delivery that was in effect. Basically, the agreement we have is that the current service delivery areas we have will honor, continue on with, but in the future, as one community, we'll go forward in agreement that will do the best thing in the economic manner with common sense approach as far as who can better serve the new growth in this community, working together. The city did ask if they could extend their service delivery line from Dames Ferry to Camelot, approximately 2.7 miles. What this will do is it will give the city access to our Town Creek line. In the event we have an emergency, they'll have access to that Town Creek line. Talked with Mr. Pelkey. He said it wouldn't be anything needed extra for us for them to do that as far as on the county side, and the city would go ahead and run that 2.7 miles and ask that be changed on their service delivery, since they'll be giving them an access, about like what Paddock did with Baldwin County. This will give the city of Gray the same opportunity to have an additional source in the event they needed. Is there any questions? I hope Greg, Regional Commission, they had some people out sick, so they didn't have anybody here to present it. I told them I figured I could get us through it all right. Any questions?
Fine job.
If none, I need approval to sign the service delivery strategy between the county and the city.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Old business, Employee Wellness Incentive Program.
I think Matt already covered that, so.
Have already said, all right. Going to number 2 on old business, backup generator for water customers. Mr. Pelkey, is this yours?
I know they had, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
In the prior meeting, I guess there was a question about generators throughout the county, and specifically the Haddock community. And the Haddock community never had any generators, and with this storm that we had during the summertime, it really highlighted the need for generator power, I think, throughout the whole community. I talked to Don Graham this week because he had put a request in through FEMA for generators, and we probably will not know the status of that until sometime in the fall. So that leaves the summer period open to a situation. So I'm looking into prices for like temporary generators for Haddock. We have a mobile welding unit that has a generator that we actually used during the storm, and it held sufficient pressure. Of course, now we have the connection for Baldwin County that we didn't have quite ready during the storm. So we have some options there until we get the approval from FEMA. I just want to assure everybody that Haddock will be ready. My biggest concern with the rest of the county would be the Light and Tie booster station. That is really the only avenue we have from the Henderson plant to the city of Gray. We've always had a great relationship with Tri-County. That's the power source that runs Light and Tie. Prior to the storm, Greg called me and said, "Where do you want us to go first?" And he did, and it really saved us. They went over and above. At one point, he told me it could be a week before Light and Tie had power. At 10:30 that night, he called me and said, "We found a way where we can jump from a substation in Macon." And he said, "Can you go out there and check it and see if it's running?" I got there and she was running. So they've been really great. During the ice storm, he gave me a team and says, you go with Mr. Pelkey, so I mean, there's been a great relationship there, but we do need a generator there. Griswold plant doesn't have any generated power. So there are needs there, and I have a proposal that I'm going to prepare prior to the meeting coming up at the end of the month here. My concerns about the water department, generated power, and some of the concerns that I believe that the older parts of the system need to be updated. And we're doing a good job in putting infrastructure in the ground, but we have to make sure that we're going to keep up with that, and that's in terms of generated power. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update on it, and so I believe that we'll be okay, but I hope that FEMA will come through for us.
Any question from Mr. Pelkey?
Right. So I understand that Haddock will be okay if we ever have any power issues, because I understand we do have the water tie from Baldwin. So
we'll have the generator that's on our mobile welding unit. Plus, I'm going to have another small portable generator that'll be enough to handle another plant. And we also have the Baldwin County line that connects to Haddock. The only caveat to that is during the storm, I called Baldwin County immediately after the storm to see if we could use that line. They're facing the same situations that we are. That part of their system doesn't have generators, and the part of that system that will feed that line doesn't have generated power. So if it's a situation that is a regional event, like this storm, that wouldn't be an option. If they're out of power,
we're out of power.
That won't be an option. So that's why I'm going to get another portable unit until we see what FEMA does, and if not, then we'll take a next step and just getting them ourselves. So.
And then you also mentioned, was it 2 other areas that needed generators, or are you just going to use portable generators in those locations?
Light and Tie booster station, we have a generator that we had purchased from the military. It's done a load test on it. Everything's good to go. The only problem with that plan is that over the years, pieces of equipment have been pulled out of that particular booster station and replaced with a different size that it wasn't built for. So the electrical unit is actually too small for the pumping units. And what happens during the summer when you're pulling 11, 12-hour pulling times, the electrical panels will pop. You know, they'll go out. And that is one thing that's going to be on my list of highlights to redo is Light and Tie. It's crucial. And so we're waiting on putting the generator in to see if we can remodel that, rehab that, just like we did the Stagecoach booster station, and then put it in. Well, we may have to segment that in terms of financially being able to do it all at one time, and we can upgrade part of the electrical system to be able to handle the load on that.
And if I remember correctly, during our last meeting, we estimated that a generator may cost about $5,000. Is it?
Well, it all depends on the size.
Okay.
A size that Haddock would need, you could talk about between $5,000 and $10,000 in that general price range.
Okay.
When you're looking at the other parts of the system in Jones County, it would be much higher because it's a much more larger plant than the city of Haddock.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So I was just up on the impression each of them was approximately $5,000, and I didn't know how much SPLOST funds we have from water to pull from, but
that's what I was waiting on. I mean, if FEMA doesn't come through this summer, then I will do that.
Okay.
I'd like to see what they're going to do. But if they don't, yeah, that's what I'm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can reassure my residents in Haddock we do have
yeah.
a portable generator that's really good
yes.
power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
You got a question? Yeah, do FEMA typically, in these situations, what might they give? Are they going to allot for all of our generators or just some, or is it a dollar amount?
I'm not exactly sure. Don will probably have a better explanation on that, but I think he probably gave him a number of units, probably different sizes, and I shared with him what I needed, and it's just a matter of time now, just getting approval on it. Baldwin County has put this in effect for almost a year now, and they haven't heard anything yet. So it's a period of time, and so.
Is it optional if we go ahead and pay for it? FEMA reimburse us if approved. Is that an option, or is that a question for Don?
That'd be a question for Don.
Okay. And then the final question I have is, when Schneider came in, did they look at the water department at all? And would this be covered under the ESPC?
Go ahead. I can't remember.
So at the business case analysis, we did not look at the water department at all. Once you enter into the design agreement phase, I know he's probably on a pretty quick path towards getting some resolution. That is definitely something we would take a look at as well. Probably not a ton of savings there, but might be some good solutions for them.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to say that I talked to Jason and to Jeffrey about something that's very important, and that is that we get a preventive maintenance program set up for the generators that we do have, so that when they are needed, that they will start and come online. I think in the past we've had an instance where there were problems and it caused, a little backup, but that's something that's very important.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we just finished the maintenance program, and all the generators that we have, to the lift stations all the way through the plants. And Middle Georgia Electric just finished them off. They're changing the oils, the filters, flushed all the radiators and changed the batteries, and did the test on them. So we're ready.
And just a suggestion would be that they're started at least, once a month. Make sure that they will start. They don't have to be put online, but make sure that they do operate.
Yeah, really every Wednesday, 8 o'clock, we run a test. They do an automatic test for about 15 to 20 minutes. So they're.
Do we look at gas versus diesel versus natural gas or propane?
All of our generators that have been installed are diesel. I believe the natural gas propane is actually a little cheaper in terms of price. So that might be something we could look into going forward.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you.
We got department heads. Do you have anything else on department head comments, Mr. Pelkey? Okay. I see who's jumping up.
We'll go before John. It's gonna take longer.
Well, John was trying to grab for you, just saying to keep you from the seat so he can get ahead of you.
I'm giving you here tonight, and I had a young lady, Miss Williams, reach out to me about partnering together to provide an event for Jones County. She actually lives in Jones County, and it's something we've never done today, but something I've always been passionate about, is trying to bring more events to Jones County. And so this is for Easter. It's the Easter Fun Day. And what I'm asking tonight really is just a consensus. I'm going to throw this information at you and kind of looking for a head nod, whether you think it's a good idea or not. But I'd like to partner with this young lady and do an Easter egg hunt at me and her will determine. I'll let her determine where she thinks the location is best. We can either do it at Highway 49 ballpark, or we can do it at Highway 18 ballpark. I'll really lean on her. She's going to be the backbone behind putting this together and everything. But I'm just really looking for your permission tonight to go into partnership with her and market this on behalf of Parks and Recreation. This was a free Easter egg hunt for the community. Everyone is invited, and so I just want to inform you that and see if we could get some consensus that it's okay for me to do so.
It's fine with me.
What is our ball schedule?
This we'll make it work. We don't have schedules right now, so I can make it work.
You want out? Everybody fine with that?
And we have the way the ballparks work, to bring you up to date on that, is the first and third weekend of every month, Highway 49 is open for events, travel ball tournaments, events, whatever. The second and fourth weekend of every month, the Highway 18 park is open for events or travel tournaments or whatnot. So we have a park open every single weekend. So if there happens to be a fifth weekend, then everything's open. So it's easy for me to determine, based on the date, what if this is the third. It's either going to be the fourth or fifth weekend in March. So that would tell me right there what park is going to be at. But, typically 49 doesn't play a lot of weekends, and that board's very, easy to work with. And if this is something they feel like could benefit their people, their constituents, they would probably be apt to have it at their location.
I think I was asking Matt, not to mention any names, but what seems to be the community support for our buy-in program that Chris Mars marketing and promoting for us?
It's going good. She already has quite a few fish on the line. Good. I don't want to put any businesses out there, but we have some really good waves right now, and she's making some really good waves, and I'm looking to see some agreements come across Jason's desk real soon.
Good. Very good.
Good.
Any more?
So we good? Are y'all okay with me partnering with her to do this?
Yes.
We're good.
All right. Second thing is, this is just food for thought. I'm going to be bringing you more detailed information at the next meeting. I had Wendell with Public Works. Me and Jason was talking about the 2009 SPLOST. Parks and Recreation has roughly $180,000 left in the 09 SPLOST. Levita's pushing me hard to spend this money. And me and Jason have been looking at ways to get the biggest bang for what money we have left instead of it just being nickel and dime out, away. The interior walkways was one of the things we had to eliminate when we were trying to figure out how to get that complex built. And, they're passable for me. They're not so passable for mom with a stroller, an elderly person with a walker, or a wheelchair person. They can navigate it, but it's not optimal by any means. Window with Public Works went out and got a rough estimate asphalt to do all the interior walkway, which is 4,300 linear feet, 8 foot wide, would be about $41,000. Concrete roughly be around $61,000. So these are rough numbers that Wendell had put together, so he feels pretty confident, plus or minus a little bit there. And so I'm going to be asking with some more detailed information at the next meeting to possibly go out for bid on doing our interior walkways. So that's just food for thought for tonight.
Since you asked, if I had 180K, I'd put it with the splosh money, and I'd start building a track on 49, right? Or I'd leverage that for payments on it. If that's not an option, the outdoor basketball courts, I put 4 out there on 49 with bleachers, which gives us an opportunity for kids to play ball. And there's only 1 outdoor basketball court in Jones County. 2. Oh, I'm sorry.
1 in Haddock.
Oh, I didn't know. Look how far you got to go to get to basketball. We have a pretty decent basketball program, but I think we can expand that. And if I had a choice between sidewalks or an actual basketball court, I'm going to put in 4 basketball courts so we can do some tournament play.
I'll definitely get with Jason. We'll start looking at that. The last thing tonight, I'm glad the sheriff, they left. So I wanted to thank Guy, Captain Mosteller, and Sergeant Murray, and the sheriff, because they have been very instrumental in us getting a lot of work done. They give me inmates every day. I shouldn't say every day. Sometimes John tries to steal them. But 90% of the time when I call, they're very workable. They help me out tremendous, help our department out tremendous by giving us inmate labor. They handpick the guys that are going to work, that are going to be trustworthy, they're going to be problem free, and it's just tremendous working with the sheriff's office on that. And I was hoping they would be here when I could tell them thank you. So if y'all do see the sheriff, please, on my behalf, please tell him thank you. I tell him thank you every chance I get for working with our department like that. Thank you.
That's why you went first.
Mr. Jackson?
Is it my turn?
You can come forward.
I just want to tell everybody the building's coming great. We will actually start moving animals next week. We're going to do, I guess, soft opening, whatever you call it, before we do the grand opening. There's a few things we got to work on, get the kinks out, bugs out and everything, but I'll be up there in the morning at 5 o'clock putting in cabinets and cutting holes for sinks in the countertops. If anybody here knows how to do that, y'all show up, because I don't. But yes, it's going real good. So we're probably in 3 weeks we'll be done. I hope. Knock on wood. We would have been done 6 months ago if Matt hadn't stole the inmates every time.
No, right now, it's going to be done.
What?
He's writing down, you're going to be done in 3 weeks.
No, don't write that down. I said probably. Probably, P-R-O-B-A-B-L-Y.
He's 100% sure he might be ready.
That's right. I'm 100% for, yeah, absolutely. But no, it's going good. It really is.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Risner? You've done a good job tonight, I might say. You've been handling 2 positions.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I talked with Levita some. She wanted me to mention to the board and just for the public, anybody that might have that this might impact. But going through the audit, one of the things they ran across is that there are some checks that are out there, county checks that were issued that haven't been cashed, and they're void after 90 days. So if anybody out there listening on the internet or in the room might be impacted by that, just let Levita know. We can reissue if we know. We thought maybe give another week for anybody to come forward that might have one of those, and if not, we'll just void those out so that they're not hanging out there as still on the books. So wanted to mention that. The sheriff and I talked some earlier today about some pending legislation for the General Assembly having to do with 911 fees. I'll be looking into that and contacting all of you about maybe putting together a letter dealing with that legislation. I'm sure there are other things that I'm supposed to share with you. I had the opportunity to go to the Capitol today to get our trophy, so to speak, for Plan First redesignation, and so I was honored to do that on behalf of the county. And I think that's all I have for right now.
Anyone else for the county? If none, we'll start with our commissioner's comments. Mr. Robinson, you want to go first tonight?
I guess I'll start cashing my payroll checks.
Didn't
do that. That's all.
That's our Mr. Commissioner Martin.
I'm happy that we're doing some good work, especially in our bid process. It's been a difficult time just watching one bid come through and sometimes being subjected to whatever the bidder requests. So keep up the good work there, Jason, and anybody else that is aware of how we do the bid process. Stay tuned to the website and put your bid in, because it's going to save us money over the long run. The ESPC contract potential savings, I think, is a great opportunity for us to address some of our antiquated infrastructure and sort of pass on those savings to our departments. One little thing I would love to see is through the process, if we really get into this right, and there is a savings, at least 10% of that goes to our maintenance department, so they can start doing some of this stuff that they've been talking about, because Bobby's been talking about this stuff for as long as I've been elected. So considering 2 terms, I know he's probably been bumping his head at it for at least 10 or 15 years. It's a no-brainer when we can use our utility savings to pay for the infrastructure that's antiquated. Again, if we have that extra money, we have a track program at the high school. There's not a single track meet held in Jones County. Track is the only non-revenue generating sport at the high school level and at the rec level. Football, they get gate money. Baseball, they get gate money. I don't know if the gate money equates to $1 million weightlifting facility, but our county puts our money where our heart is, and we know football is part of the heartbeat. I'm going to suggest that you consider that for track. Hosting a state event or even a rec invitational is upwards of $35,000 to $50,000 just for that weekend. We have a number of state champions, as indicated by the plaque on the wall, and I think last term some 58 students went up to state to compete. Again, we got 180,000 plus what's in the splosh dedicated for the track on 49. Spend it wisely. And again, if we can't do that, drop it on basketball. Our kids play. Healthcare. I'm glad we're getting started early. It's nice that wellness is a part of it, kind of along with ESPC. It's preventative maintenance. And if it can save us or shave some money off of our healthcare costs, that's great. Right now, I think if diabetes is one of those target areas, those are sort of easy fixes with good exercise and diet management. And then lastly, I would say to our employees, keep up the good work. You're the reason why we're here. It makes a difference in the community. And I think we got to do what's right by our constituents, which is my final comment. With the land scenario that we were presented with, it sounds like this might be a bigger issue. We definitely need to get guidance on that. And any other items that are coming up. I know we have a new tax assessor who might be doing things the right way. We just don't know, because we know some things have slid under the radar for years. And if he is doing the right thing, great, let's support it. But let's find the proper way to do it without making somebody have a heart attack or spend money unwisely. Thank you.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the board for supporting the Transportation Enhancement Agreement authorization resolution. It's been a long time coming, and if we can continue to make progress, hopefully that project will start hopefully real soon. I want to also thank the board for supporting the whole creating this culture of wellness. I think it's something that will be very beneficial for the county as well as our employees. Thank the employees for everything that they do and all the great ideas that they share with us. And I just ask that they continue to think of other ways that we could potentially save money, because we do have the employee incentive program so that you can get a financial reward for sharing your ideas of ways to save money for the county. And just all in all, just thank the board for the support and thank you for working well together, and hope everybody has a great evening.
Commissioner Kitchen, I think you said you was going to say yes and no?
Yes and no. I lied though. Commissioner Martin stole a little bit of my thunder there. I agree 100% though. We need to use some of the funds from a performance contract to some of the savings for a maintenance and construction account, percentage of that into that line item, because maintenance is always neglected, which is the reason we got to where we are now. I mean, it's the reason why we have antiquated equipment, and it's no fault of our maintenance department. They're working with the best they can with what they got. So I'm looking forward to that. Retreat work session, looking forward to that. Get started on it earlier this year. I'd really like to see, talk a little bit to Jason about this, about sending out some surveys to our department heads and our employees ahead of time to see, since the last work session, what did we do right and what did we do wrong? Mm-hmm. So that we have a starting point. The last work session, we set up and had all the list of things that we wanted to achieve in the next year. And I like to, grade ourselves, see what we got accomplished and what we still need to work on. I think that's important. Like we said the whole time, not to put that on the shelf and expect it to fix itself. We gotta see where we're not winning and fix that. So, and the last thing is keep working on a comprehensive road list, resurfacing, paving. I know, prioritize top to bottom every road in the county. That's it.
Thank you. Move on to citizens' comments. Anybody like to come forward and speak?
Commissioner Martin came up with alternative fuels. Telecom and Sprint, all their communication towers out in the field are propane. They're a lot cleaner burning source. You can store up to 800 gallons if you want that to have on standby. I put in 7 myself, but they're just where everybody else, they've done analysis on, cleaner fuels and stuff. But, that's, to me, that's a good way to go.
Thank you. Anyone else? Citizen comments? We'd love for you to come forward if you got a comment. If none, Commissioner Pitt.
Need it. Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Thompson.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, got light for tonight. Daylon, before you leave, I'm gonna tell you what's going on.
That's what I do when I have the other meetings. I sleep in the next
So you can get inmates in rainy days.
Raining all day.
You can have
I'll be picking them up in the morning.
Oh, you're so nice.
So we're going to work out a deal. I'm going to start using a lot.
I still got 12 dugouts.
I got 30 and all. I got 12 dugouts. I got 30 dollars.
Let me give it the roof zone.
This is like a chess match watching.
We run out of